So if anybody doesn't want to be in a picture that I'm going to tweet, then you got like 10 seconds. Okay. All right. Thank you, everybody, for coming out. We're going to go ahead and get started now. So this is devICT for Thursday, August 31st, 2017. I'm so excited to see so many people out. This is awesome. I'm sure the pizza had a big part to do with it, but really, you're just really interested in lightning talks. And first, let me just go ahead and say, I do not think any of the talks are actually about lightning. So if that's why you're here, just let you know. Sorry. Yeah, okay. So there's some new faces here, which is amazing. We're always excited to have more people joining our community. So first, let me just tell you a little bit about us, about devICT. This is a community first. It's a community for developers in the Wichita area. Our mission is to educate, empower, and connect software developers in this area. We have a code of conduct that we take very seriously. If you have any problems or concerns, please let me know. Our full code of conduct is online at devict.org/conduct, our website. Real quickly, I just want to kind of tell you a few ways you can get involved with our community. The best way is to get onto our Slack chat team. There's 630, 640, I don't know. There's a lot of people in there. And there's a whole bunch of channels, more than 100, about a bunch of different topics. Some of them are tech related, a lot of them are not. And it's just a big community of people talking about stuff. So this is definitely the best way to get involved. And to do that, if you go to our website, devict.org, right in the header in the navigation, there's a place where you can click a link that says chat, agree to our code of conduct, fill out a form, and get an invite into the Slack team. Another way to be involved is to watch past presentations if you're interested. Each of these, we try to record as many of our presentations as we can. This is being recorded now. And we take those videos and we put them up on our website, again, devict.org. Another way to be involved is to donate. Membership in our organization is free, and our events are almost always free as well. We do have some very small costs, about $100 a month, for our membership here that lets us host events, and our meetup group that helps us find new members. Right now, we have recurring monthly donations from our members of $116 a month, so we're positive, which is great. We have some of those are kind of large donations from like a few individuals. So if they ever get tired of donating that much, then we'll be negative again. So I really like seeing like small $5, $10, whatever kind of recurring donations. That's great. Another way to be involved is to give a talk. This is a great way to learn about something that you're interested in. I personally find it very motivating. If you agree to speak in front of 30-some people about something, then that's a good motivator to learn about that thing that you're going to talk about. But this is also a very low pressure, low stakes environment because we're all friendly. It's really not that big of a crowd, and you can also use this as practice if you have like a talk that you want to submit to regional or national or international conferences. Then this is a great place to kind of try out some ideas, try out some talks, and just get experience if that's something you're interested in. We also have a mentorship program. On our website, devict.org, there's a mentors page. You can go on there and search by skills. So if you want to learn about Haskell, you go on there and you type in Haskell, and then Tanner's name shows up, and it's got his username, and then you can message Tanner and say, hey, I want to learn about Haskell. So it's pretty simple. It's just a way to kind of, this is a list of volunteers, people who have agreed to say, yes, I want to mentor somebody. So if you're looking for a mentor, go check it out. If you want to be a mentor, just let me know, and I can show you how to get your information up there. It's really easy. Quick shout outs for some of our friends. So devICT first is actually a program that's ran by the Make ICT Institute, which is a larger organization. They're here in Wichita. They're the Wichita's maker movement community. So if you're not familiar with them, check it out, makeict.org. There's Women Who Code, the Wichita branch. We work with them a lot, and actually, like, we share the Slack team. So if you get into Women Who Code, then you'll already be in the devICT Slack, and you might as well hang out with us anyway. Open Wichita is Wichita's open data civic hacking group. Whereas devICT is more just kind of community and education kind of oriented, Open Wichita is more project oriented, where they have like particular projects they're trying to work on to try and make the city better in some way. Feel free to check those out. WULUG, the Wichita State Linux Users Group, and you don't have to be a Wichita State student to attend. Facebook.com/WULUG. Startup Wichita and Shocker Startup are two entrepreneurial-based groups. If you have that kind of drive to start a business or join a startup business, check those groups out. And then Wichita Talks is a quarterly event that's kind of like these lightning talks, but it's a different format and much more production values put into them, and they're much better. So definitely check those out. Real quick about some of our upcoming events. We have a study hall event that we host every Monday night here at the Labor Party. It's a time and a place that the Labor Party is open to you to come and work on whatever you're trying to work on, like kind of just like self-directed stuff. We also have Code and Coffee, which is basically the same thing, but it's in the mornings. It's Thursday mornings. So someone's here as early as like 7 a.m., but you don't have to get here that early. We have a purely social event we call the Hangout. We do on the second Tuesday of the month. Just kind of get together and hang out and talk about whatever. Try not to be so serious talking about tech all the time. The second Saturday of the month, we have the Game Dev Potluck. This is one where people just kind of come here, bring your own food, bring some to share, and make games, or don't. Just play games, or just hang out, or whatever you want to do. There's somebody here that whole day.
Food is not required, but it is welcome.
Yeah, food's not required, but it's welcome. We also have, on the third Tuesday of the month, we have an event called Java Talks, and that's over at the High Touch building. So that's once a month, somebody gives a talk on something that has to do with the JVM ecosystem. And then there's this event, which we call devICT Presents, which is on the last Thursday of the month. So tonight, we're going to have devICT Presents, and we're going to be doing our lightning talks. Now, what's special about our event tonight is that we have a sponsor. I'm sure that's why everyone's here, is to hear from our sponsor. So yes, so this is Kel up here. Kel, say hi. And then that's Carter. So we're kid friendly, if you couldn't tell. Just a minute. So I'm gonna invite Bill Vincent up here to tell us a little bit more about AccuWeather, and let's give them all a round of applause and say thanks for all this wonderful food and drinks and snacks.
So I know what you're really here for, so I won't spend a lot of time. I just basically want to say thank you. I've got a handful of people that work with me that are here tonight, some by choice, some of them are forced to be here. No, just kidding. If you see anybody in the AccuWeather shirt plus Jared, please talk to them. Find out what it is that AccuWeather does, what the environment's like, if you want to know more about job opportunities or anything like that. But basically, how many of you knew that AccuWeather was in Wichita? Good. So the part of AccuWeather that's in Wichita, because the headquarters is in State College, Pennsylvania, we do mostly commercial work here. So the railroads, people like Boeing and Spirit and Koch Industries and stuff locally, but we serve all of North America and internationally more and more. So our role here, we have about 40 people in this office, and later tonight, if you'd like to walk over with us, take a quick little tour, 10 minutes. If you just kind of want to see for yourself what it is that we do there, I'd be glad to show it off. Otherwise, there's a lot of swag on the table. Feel free to take as much as you want. Make sure there's no pizza left, because my wife's running off this weekend, and if you leave pizza, that's what I'm eating all weekend. So I don't want any of it left. The reason I'm here tonight, honestly, is I have a couple people that have attended devICT. Most recently, hired Austin 2 months ago to work for us. I see a lot of quality things going on here indirectly through other people, so I want to come and see it for myself. So I think this is a pretty exciting group. I'm glad you're all here. And like I said, if you have any questions, approach anybody in the shirts or come over for the little tour. All right, that's my intro. Thank you.
All right, lightning talks. So if you haven't been to a lightning talk event before, the way it works is someone will come up here and give a talk for a few minutes up to a maximum of 7. I'll have a timer running, and if you're the speaker, when you've got like 2 minutes left, I'll put up 2 fingers, 1 minute left, 1 finger, and then when the timer goes off, I'll just cut you off. So the idea is not to go on for too long about any one particular thing, but just to kind of go through a variety of topics. So we have a few people who've prepared like slides and stuff that they've already know what they want to talk about. So we'll probably kind of run through those. But if anyone else wants to volunteer to come up and share something, feel free. You don't need to have anything prepared ahead of time. And you don't even have to go the full 7 minutes. So I'll go ahead and give you an example. And the topics for these talks can be just anything. Anything that's tech-related, something that you've worked on, something that you found, something that you know a lot about or you're really passionate about or you thought was cool, just anything you want to share. So I wanted to show first this website. If you're a web developer, then this is a great resource. If you're not, well, just wait a few minutes and then we'll talk about something else. And maybe it'll be web-related, maybe not. So there's this website called caniuse.com. So it's really cool because it has this big database of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript features. And you can look through them and you can see which browsers support that feature. So like, let's say I want to do like some HTML5 canvas stuff, right? So we can look. Looks like that's pretty well supported. You can see Internet Explorer 11, Edge, like these are all green, so that means they have it. Like Firefox 55, they've got all these. And you can kind of sort based on like the current version or the most popular version based on usage, or there's like they have a bunch of different formats. But here, if we want to find one, what's something cool? Like that. Flexbox CSS, that's pretty well supported, it looks like. There's a note on like IE11, there's some partial support due to some bugs, so there's like a list of known issues. What's blink tag? Okay, yeah, let's look at that. Blink. All right, these obsolete deprecated elements should not be used. Browser support's not tracked. Yeah, so that one's no good. And actually, Blink, I don't remember if it was Blink or Marquee, but one of those, I know Chrome just dropped support for. It just doesn't work anymore. Here, so what's something that's cooler? WebSockets. All right, apparently can't use WebSockets on Opera Mini. Great. What's ES6? ES6 classes, just not supported in IE. Generators, the number type. Okay, look at this. JavaScript loading JavaScript modules. Oh, so this is like WebAssembly, I think, really, right? That's coming in Chrome 61 and Safari 10, but let's do WebAssembly. That'll be cool. Looks like Firefox and Chrome have some support at least. So anyway, there's all sorts of stuff in there. If you do web stuff and you're not doing something that you just know is universally supported, definitely check it out. I think it's a pretty cool thing. So that's it for me. That's it. That's the end of my lightning talk. Next, let's see. Who do I have? This one. Who's that? Austin. All right. Austin. Let's give Austin a hand. Come on. You have it on a timer. Huh? You have yours like on a timer, right? I don't have it on. Okay, well, it doesn't matter. Okay.
I'll try and give it 7 minutes.
Yeah, I'll let you know. 2 minutes.
Sounds good. So I'm going to talk about client APIs. Does anybody have any idea what that means? Client APIs.
No.
All right. So it's a client for an API, right? So front ends are clients for many different things. Could be a bunch of different things, right? Bunch of different APIs, bunch of different business logic. Who here is a mobile developer? Okay. Okay, maybe this is better. It seems like everybody associates with a full stack developer. Okay, back-end developer. Okay, so this talk is really going to hit both people. Maybe create a conversation between both front-end and back-end developers to talk about how they can interact with each other. Okay. So, like I said, everybody seems to think that they're a full stack developer, which, what's the definition for a full stack developer nowadays? I mean, everything from hardware down to front end, I don't know. So we're going to talk about how these full stack developers can talk with real front end developers. So what's a front end developer? A front end developer should really focus on a couple of things: implementing and collaborating on UI, UX designs to make users love the software, right? Rich experiences, great UI. Users nowadays are used to mobile apps being really responsive and different phone sizes, all these sorts of things. This is still front-end developer. Mobile developers really are front-end developers. So front-end development now has turned in from, oh, let's just make some vanilla JavaScript, CSS, HTML, turned into this stuff called Webpack. Anybody heard of Webpack? Transpiling, ES6 down to ES5. Anybody heard about this? React, Babel. Okay? So it's no longer, hey, let's write some HTML, let's append it to the DOM and have some cool looking effects, animations. No, it's much more than that. So I thought this was kind of funny. Okay. Who here loves JavaScript? And who here loves JavaScript but codes every day in another language? Who's used to another language besides JavaScript? Okay. Is it really that good? No. Yeah, exactly. But it's what we have, right? So being a front-end developer is hard enough, right? We've got React, we've got Webpack, we've got these transpiling systems and CSS, post-CSS, all these different things. So what you need to do as a back-end developer or everybody else besides a front-end developer is keep them focused on front-end things, right? So front-end, fast iteration, they are focusing on individual components, right? Any of those React developers out there. React Native, anybody here to React Native? Okay. React Native is a front-end bridge to different Android, iOS, all that sorts of stuff. So, okay. Who's here a front-end developer and seen something like this with promises? Asynchronous functions. Anybody seen this?
I've seen that, but it's
Yeah?
not formatted that beautiful.
Okay. So asynchronous functions in the front end are a nightmare. You know, things are rendered at rendering time. When you load a page, it's rendered. But all your backend stuff is asynchronous. It happens whenever it happens, right? You're waiting on the backend. And I have actually ran into several projects that look kind of like this. You know, go get user information, update them with this plan. You know, delete this user, has more than a couple different database operations that happen. This is a nightmare, right? You've got React, you've got transpiling, you've got all this other stuff. Why do I have to worry about all this? And what I'm here to talk to you about is that backend developers, this should be your problem to fix, okay? You know your system. You built it. You should create the client to interact with it, okay? Who here has seen on the right? Ajax, big giant thing, objects, some success, some errors. Who's seen that? Come on. Okay, okay. Well, I'm suggesting that you as a backend developer should create something, a package of ways to do all of this Ajax stuff, all of this handling, this error handling, the success stuff, and put it into really nice packages called client APIs. All right? Who here has used Stripe before? Stripe API. All right? It's really good documentation. straightforward. They have classes. They have curl commands of how to use it. You should be creating that stuff so that people can focus on their huge applications. Who here does something like this? A user sign up, then a user send confirmation email, all that kind of stuff. So several requests can be tied into one promise, making things more easy to read. Clients are happier that the front end actually knows what's going on with the back end, and interacting happily together. So what I'm suggesting for you guys is to actually rethink how you guys are interacting with the front end, your back end, all your APIs. So, thanks.
That's it. All right. You have 45 seconds left.
45 seconds?
Yeah, so that's extra.
Oh, and I'm a software engineer for Active.
There you go. Great.
What would you say?
2 months, never get it yet.
I'm a full stack, right? Yeah.
All right, let's. Okay. All right, so this is my shirt. This is Chorus. They're cool. All right, let's see. We're gonna do. I had to turn off the screen share real quick so nobody sees my whole conversation history with Sandeep. Let's see. No, this one. There we go. Okay. Since I have it up right now, Sandeep, let's have you come next. Okay, so next we have Sandeep Southcall. Is that how you say it? Southcall? Okay. Sandeep is going to be talking to us about a cool thing called Puppeteer. So let me do that. Okay. And it should be, yeah, it's still broadcasting, so we're good. Okay. I'll be over there. And I'll tell you 2 minutes left, 1 minute left.
All right. All right, good turnout. If I'd ever used Today I Learned, it's basically ever since, if you have pizza, the turnout increases in proportion to that. I should have accounted for it today. All right, so today I wanted to, so I'm a software engineer in test at a company called ZipRecruiter. So today I wanted to talk about something called Puppeteer. It is a headless Chrome Node API. So the reason I wanted to talk about this, a couple of issues that's happened, in case you're not following the really cool QA automation world, a couple of things happened. So I don't know if you've heard about Phantom.js, which is like a headless, it's basically a headless way of interacting with the browser. The major maintainer basically stepping down. So he put out the statement saying that he gave his life to Phantom.js basically, but nobody else was supporting him, so he decided to step down. But it's huge. It's a big deal because a lot of companies use Phantom.js for a whole host of activities, not just for automation, but for other services as well. So he's stepping down. So that's, those were red flags. Second activity that happened was, I don't know how many people have heard of Selenium IDE. Not Selenium itself, but Selenium IDE, which is like a recording tool that's a plugin to Firefox. Well, Firefox 55 onwards is no longer going to support it. So 2 big problems going into, if you ever think of a career in automation, these were pretty big tools that you had in your toolkit, and they're no longer supported. What's accelerating their death, basically, is the fact that Chrome announced about 3 months ago that they're officially starting, I mean, this has been in the works for a year, but officially 3 weeks ago, they said, hey, we're going to come out with headless Chrome, and we're just going to have an official API to interact with it. So Puppeteer is basically their first attempt at writing like a high-level API to interact with headless Chrome. Now, you may be asking me, well, what are you going to do with headless Chrome? Headless Chrome is basically Chrome without a GUI, so you don't have a UI to work with it. It's great in my world because you can do a bunch of these things. The more important things, you can generate screenshots and PDFs. So if you ever want to write a little script that allows you to go in and scrape web pages, this is a great tool for that. You don't necessarily need to see the UI. All you need is a script running, and this is perfect for that. One of the nice things which I'm excited about is this bit where you can capture the whole the network logs and the tracing, because a lot of times you actually want to see when you access a website all the content attached, how long say a certain request took. So rather than looking at the Chrome debugger tool, which I guess is technically this. So exactly what you see here, or all the data that you see here. Now you have a way to interact with the page and get all this information out of it. So this basically is just a few weeks old. Let's take a look at a few examples. Well, luckily you don't have to work with promises that Austin was just mentioning. Slightly better, it supports with Node 7 and 8. You can use you can basically use async and await. So that can look slightly cleaner than what he showed. But here's a simple example. All it does is go to a page, takes a screenshot, that's it. Here's an example of a PDF. So it has different variations. You can set different user agents. So if you're looking for a mobile phone, desktop versions, all that stuff is handled by it. What's this guy? So let's take a look at some of the examples that it has. I want to show you what it does. So here's an example. So in this case, if you look at the code itself, all it's doing is that if it comes across an image resource, it blocks that request. But I tweaked this little code a little bit to show you the request, because you can start sniffing the request and look at the entire request log. Since I don't have my computer, I used Imgur, obviously. But if you look at it, you can kind of see. Well, that was for devICT, but here you can see some of all the URLs, like all the JavaScript. So what I wanted to pull out was all the JavaScript requests out of it. And then you can dig in and kind of see how the time and all the different data that basically you can look from a debugger. So yeah, so that's one example. Let's look at a couple more. This was a screenshot. You can even use it as a proxy service. So I don't know if you ever want to use that as a little proxy server, you can do that as well. So it's quite interesting to see what's happening in this world. I want to keep track of it just because this looks like it's going to be the de facto way of working with browsers. And Chrome is what the majority of users are using, other than IE6. But this seems to be where the world is going. So it's a good thing to keep track of. So I just wanted to show this tool today. That's pretty much it.
Still have a minute 24 left.
That's what easy.
Get some extra pizza. Yeah, good idea. Okay. Sam, you want to go next? Okay. So next we've got, where is it? There we go.
Yep.
It's this one. Okay. Let's give Sam a round of applause. And I will just be right over there.
So I just wanted to present a project that we're starting at Make ICT. We've been needing it for a while. It's going to be an all-in-one member event and equipment management platform. We're currently using Wild Apricot, but it very seriously needs to be replaced. It's been restricting what we can do. It's been a major pain, lack of API support, just lots and lots of problems. We've looked at other packages, other pieces of software that we could use, and nothing really offers what we need. Either it's way out of our price range for a nonprofit organization, or it just doesn't have the kind of features that we're looking for. So we've been talking about replacing it. Things that it would absolutely need to have at a minimum to replace it is member management. It would need to be able to let users sign up, create a profile, manage that profile, and of course let an administrator manage the users, get statistics on membership and their payments. We need an event manager so that we can create events easily. track how many members have signed up for those events, rerun the events, collect payment for the events, reserve time and equipment, areas and equipment for those, manage the equipment that we would use for those events. Obviously, if anybody's been done Make ICT, we've got lots of different pieces of equipment in various different areas. So we may need to reserve areas. We may need to tell the rest of the membership that equipment is offline for a particular event. So it needs to be capable of doing that. And invoice management. We have decided to continue supporting things like checks and cash for our membership because we actually have quite a few people that still use those methods rather than just signing up through like recurring payments with PayPal. So with that, we have to have some way of managing payments that is not online. So that means making it as easy as we can for our treasurer and their assistants to send invoices to people and to collect non-credit card payments. So we've been talking to Make ICT. We've come up with some ideas for what we want to do, putting it together, using Postgres as the back end, Go as the, or not as the back end, but Postgres as the storage, with Go as the back end, and then material design as the front end. Postgres because we've got Paul involved in the project and he knows it. Nobody else really had any better ideas for database, so that's what we went with. Go I liked because it's compiled and we've got a lot of new coders that like Go and hoping to pick up some interest in the project just through using Go. And material design for the front end just because it looks nice, and rather than completely rolling our own, like he was talking about, front end's not particularly easy, so rather than just completely rolling something from scratch, using some kind of framework, some kind of libraries for that. And lots of people are familiar with it. Google uses it for everything, so it's kind of got that design language that everybody's already familiar with. Wanted to go with MVC architecture for the design paradigm for it, just because I think a lot of people are familiar with it. It's relatively straightforward, makes sense to people. There's other designs out there, but I think that this would work fine. And that's about as far as we've gotten on design. We are at this point pretty much ready to start writing code, but we do not have any actual code written yet. So it's pretty open at this point. We do have mockups, not completed, but a very good start on mockups so that we can have potentially multiple teams going with people working on designing the front end while we work on writing the back end as well to get the database running, so that we can split up the work a little bit better. So these are just some mockups of, we'd have membership being able to see their status, their events that they've signed up for, events that they've taken, manage their profiles. And then, of course, administrators being able to do the same things, but with much more access and much more reports that they can run, things like that. See lists of members and manage those lists. If you want to contribute to the project, we currently have a GitHub set up. Again, there's no code there, but yeah, domesticated apricots. Currently, the code name is domesticated apricot. We do need to find a official name. Considering I was going to ask Jacob if we could add a channel on the Slack server to discuss it. And the mockups are currently at NinjaMock. Only downside to that is they've got a watermark, but that shouldn't really hinder us too much. So if you want to get involved with it, we should be having more meetings at Make ICT fairly soon to start actually getting code written. So just talk to me, talk to Paul, and we'll get started on that.
Thank you.
Yeah, 39 seconds left. Okay. So unless I'm forgetting someone, I think Paul is the only one left of the predetermined volunteers. So let's give a hand to Paul Maceberg and talk about backing up your data. You want a terminal? Make it see that.
So let's imagine Sam gets his project built. He's got it there. He's got this wonderful team, community involved, and they made this great open source project. They've got it in production. They're making progress. It's amazing. They're adding new features because they, got it out there. But they're adding more stuff. Life is great. It's 6 months after it went live. It's controlling devICT.org, membership, commitment event, store management. And then lightning strikes, and their server gets fried. Well, Sam forgot to set up, well, it wasn't just Sam, I want to point him out. Forgot to do anything with backing up their amazing Postgres database. And they just lost 6 months of data. That's not where you want to be, right? So whenever you're making your next big thing, your next amazing application, I know that time is always your constraint, the constraint to all of us. We only have a set amount of time. But backing up your data, while it may seem like early on, takes out of the time that you could be working on that next feature. It's an important part of the development process. Today I'm going to tell you just briefly about some ways that this can be done with Postgres. Postgres, traditional SQL database, SQLite, MySQL, SQL, they're all going to have very similar concepts, different, but since I know Postgres, I'm going to tell you a little bit about it. And the reason this came up also was there was a recent incident at MakeICT where about 3 months of door access got lost and a bunch of people's keys stopped working. So that was the reason this came up. The first thing that you could do in Postgres is what's called a base backup. So you've got your database, it's got a bunch of files that represent that somewhere magically stored away. And there's a pretty simple command where you can just say, oh, tell Postgres to give me a consistent snapshot of everything. Because if your database is handling requests all the time, updates, inserts, and so on, you don't want to get a snapshot that's some weird state, like there's transactions happening and all sorts of things. And so there's inside Postgres, it's like, okay, freeze everything for a moment so that I'm in this consistent state and dump it out, basically get a tar file of all that structure. So it's at that point in time. And if the next day your database gets corrupted because the power went off, the hard drive crashed, whatever, you can take that, unzip it, and you're at that moment 1 day ago. So with MakeICT, where we had this door membership or door access database that's running on a Raspberry Pi, when it's happening, a base backup is probably a decent solution. You do that once a day, and you're great. But if you have a database that's rapidly changing, let's say it's having weather events like warnings created every minute, things like that, 1 day might not be enough. So if you lose a day's worth of data, that could be a real problem. The second thing that you can do in Postgres is it has what they call a wall archive. And so most databases have sort of like their core data, and they'll have a transactional log. And so that's when you have insert and things, you put it in the transactional log. Well, Postgres lets you take and generally by default 16 megabytes when it gets filled, you have it shipped off somewhere else. And so as it's filling up, you're moving and copying that. So you can take that core data, that snapshot, and then put the transactional log. And that gives you some, but it still takes you 16 megabytes. You also tell it like, oh, every hour dump this out, right? So that can keep you up to like within the hour, within 30 minutes of when things are happening. So there's your next step if your data is more important to you. There's in Postgres another feature where it can be streaming all of the changes to other servers or to a service that is actually backing up that log continuously. And that can give you real-time backups. And so there's some projects out there, Barman, and another one that's cleverly called Wall-E, that different companies use. So this is the general framework. But the most important thing, and this is the thing that happened at MakeICT, is you've got to test your backup. if you make this backup, say you're making this backup, that's great. There was another incident, if you were watching the news a couple months ago, I believe it was GitLab, had a pretty traumatic 24-hour downtime. They thought they had backups too. They weren't testing them. So with Postgres, what we've actually done in my workplace is we take that base backup and we have another VM once a day, take it, unzip it, get it running, put in those wall archives, play them for it, and then run a query. And if that query succeeds, it means you've got a backup that you could restore. And our query, we happen to look at a timestamp and data that we know changes regularly so that we know that it's actually something recent. If it doesn't get all that stuff done, it lets us know. So then we know, ooh, something went wrong. So if you have a backup and you're not testing it, it's not really a backup. But I encourage you, whenever you're making an application, you've got any sort of data, think about how you can back up, how you recover from failure, because it's a lot easier to think about it when it's 8 o'clock in the morning or whenever you're productive than at 3 o'clock in the morning and things hit the fan. Jacob.
All right, thank you, Paul. Paul, I think you had a question. Oh, he's answering a question. There's another question.
Amazon does a lot of magic. I mean, Postgres, all the cloud provider or Microsoft individuals rolled out, Azure, and so a lot of times they're using wall archives and things like that. They do that magic for you. They do that thing. So one of the problems with going with one of those cloud service things is all the standard features are kind of hidden from you. And so it's good if you just want to hit the ground running fast, but then if you ever want to extend it or change something, you're kind of doing a vendor lock-in with you. So keep that in mind. But if that's your solution to it, do it, and at least they've probably done it, tested it better than you will initially. If you're really important, it's really important to your business, and you have terabytes of data, you need to understand yourself about it. And those things kind of make that clear. So watch out for that.
Okay. Thank you, Paul. At this point, we'll open the floor to volunteers. Is there anybody that wanted to come share something that they've found? All right, Ben, come on up. We're going to have Ben Blankley talk to us about something fascinating, I'm sure, possibly having to do with airplanes.
Yeah.
I don't know. There was a discussion before. Do you have anything you want me to pull up on screen? Or?
I just got some websites. So
Okay, then you go ahead.
Okay.
And I'm going to be right over here. I'll tell you when you got 2 minutes left.
Okay.
I'm 1 minute left.
Thank you, Jacob. My name is Ben Blankley, and I'm a systems integration engineer at Spirit. So I work on pipes, tubes, wires, things like that. So I get a lot of questions from people who don't run a CAD system all day. Hey, what CAD system should I use? Well, the ones I've used professionally are SolidWorks, which is expensive, CATIA, which is really expensive, and Siemens NX, which is incredibly expensive. We're talking $10,000 to $20,000 a seat, which is not something that I would anticipate any individual go out and purchase. So I've done a little research into CAD tools that are free or relatively inexpensive. Now, unfortunately, generally with CAD systems, the less you spend, the less features you're going to get. So a lot of the free ones tend to be your 2D drawing-based CAD systems, not things that you could easily put into like a 3D printer. Some 2D ones that come to mind are QCAD, FreeCAD, LibreCAD, but there's this middle range that's just come out in the last like 5 years or so that kind of hit the sweet spot for features and cost. Oh, that's my son Antonio. He just woke up from a nap. So Sketchup is one that used to be owned by Google, and then it got successful and they sold it off instead of canceling it, which is surprising for Google. So they have a free version that you can create stuff, upload it to their server, and share it, but you can't export it easily. But they do offer a paid version that I think is like $49 or $79 that enables like a 2D 2D drawing options and export options for things like 3D printing and other things. So that one I've used a little bit when it was still owned by Google. So check that one out if you're interested. It's easy to dabble in that one. It's very easy to get a really good looking model out of this. And there's two free ones that are particularly notable. One is Tinkercad, and I don't have a login, but this one is completely HTML5 based. So you use your browser and you can create 3D objects. And right inside Tinkercad, you can export to commercial 3D printers. And you can upload to Thingiverse. And I believe this also has the ability to export. It does? Okay.
OBJ/RS.
Okay, OBJ, okay, that's good. So that one is pretty feature full, especially if you're on multiple workstations and you like using it wherever. The other one that I've heard about is called OpenCAD, and I'd heard about this one before. I haven't ever used it because I like my mouse and my space ball. I don't like the typing all that much. But it's very much geared towards a scripting programming language type environment. And this one is open source and free and multi-platform. And you write script and it spits out a 3D model at the end, in theory. So those are the free options and low-cost options for CAD. There's not that many good ones, but the technology is, especially with the advent of commercial and home 3D printing, the technology is really rapidly developing. So I'm sure in the next 5 years you'll see a rapid expansion of this type of easy-to-use 3D modeling software. And that's what I got.
Thank you, Ben, for volunteering, and thank you, Antonio, for letting us borrow your dad for 5 minutes. Do we have any more volunteers? Anyone else that wanted to share something? Jim Rice. And I have a feeling it might be something to do with video games. I don't know. All right, let's give Jim a round of applause. I'll be right over here. I'll tell you 2 minutes left.
I wish. No. I do want the Game Dev Potluck. You should definitely check it out. Even if you're not working on a video game, come hang out with us and see what everybody else is working on and plow ahead if you like. So I'm going to start with something that's been a huge boon to me in the last year or so: the power of saying no. If you search for similar sentiments out there on the internet, there's going to be people who have been much more eloquent about it and given much more detailed accounts of the benefit you can get from that. But basically, when I graduated from college, people kept asking me, what are you going to do with all this free time? I was working 2 part-time jobs. I was going to school part-time. And, I was like, well, I've got a list already. Well, they were joking. I didn't know they were joking because you don't really have free time. You just have to decide what you're not going to do. So I didn't pick for a really, really, really long time. And so most of the time I'd get home and I'd have quote unquote free time in that the kids go to bed-ish. And then after that, after they actually all pass out, I'm sitting here going like, okay, I have 100 things that I want to do. And then I just do this for 4 hours and then, watch the same thing I watched on Netflix yesterday or whatever. And that's easier, so I'm going to go to bed now. Well, forget that. So when I finally started taking things off my list, hi, Jacob. That is not what I want to search for. No. And one of the things that I had on my list, and I wasn't really, no, stop it.
You're still logged in.
I know. Oh, right. Well, no. That's how you say no. Dang it, Jacob.
You want to log out? You can log in.
Hang on.
Or open an incognito window.
That's what I was thinking of doing. Command Shift M. It has been a long time since I. Hey everybody, not Jacob's Twitter account. I'm so sorry, man. Jacob should have learned how to say no to what I was doing. I'm not gonna victim blame here. It was my fault. How do you find moments? Twitter. Yeah, it's at the top where I would never look for anything. My moments. I want Jimbot's moments. It's the only one I have. Shut up, Twitter. I have to sign in to see my moments? We're not doing this. No. Listen. Yeah, look at my moments. So, one of the things I couldn't take off my list was I have the wonderful curse of I can't type on a normal person keyboard, so the straight ones, the normal ones that have like nice options and a variety of colors of keys, and I can't do that, right? I'll end up like this. And I had to make a decision one day, like, okay, am I going to change careers, or am I going to use what I got my college degree in and keep typing on the keyboard? So I go through the Microsoft natural keyboards and all the commercial grade ones pretty quickly, a little too quickly. I heard everybody talking about mechanical keyboards and mechanical switches and how that's so great. So I thought I'd try it out. And I couldn't just do the easy thing and buy like a Kinesis or something that comes out of the box. I also had to buy a kit. The reason I didn't say no to building my own keyboard from a kit was because I'd already bought it. And there's not really a return policy on mass drops. So I finally said no, and I said no to 100 other things, and then decided, okay, when my wife says, do you want to watch whatever it is on Netflix, or do you want to play video games, I'll say, I can do that 2 days from now. This took me 3 nights to put together. but doggone it, I got it out of the box that it had been sitting in for 1.5 years, and got it assembled, and it actually remembered to take pictures. And it was a good experience, and it gave me that. And what I didn't do though was say, okay, I know all of this stuff is open source. I'm going to get this PCB board, have it printed. I'm going to source all of these parts. I'm going to get this aluminum plate, have that laser cut. I'm going to get all of these layers of acrylic, have those laser cut. I would still not be talking about my finished keyboard. So it's finally done, and doggone it, no. And it kind of, you get that sort of boost for getting something done, much akin to, what is it, the micro habits. What made me decide to take this slightly larger step than most things that might kickstart a productive streak, a micro habit. So like, I wanna exercise, right? I said that for like 8 years, okay? And then I heard this guy on a podcast say, well, if you get up in the morning and you do this, and you're like, I did it! I did an exercise. Eventually you're gonna do that. You do that every day. I don't even do that every day. But if you do that every day, eventually you're gonna get to day 20, you're gonna go, okay, I'm down here. I may as well do 2. So, I don't know how many keyboards I'm going to make, but I had to start somewhere, and I had to start with a kit and make video games. The end.
Like 54 seconds. You could talk some more.
I could have tweeted that. Oh yeah, it totally works. I've been using it at work. And that was the other thing. It was like, okay, if I'm going to not wimp out and just put this back in the box, assemble, I need to put it in between me and my paycheck.
Okay, thank you, Jim. Anybody else want to go? And ignore what he said about saying no. Does anybody else want to talk for? All right, Chris was first. You're next. Come on up, Chris. I'll be right over here. I'll tell you 2 minutes left.
Yeah, right. And how to use, hopefully I can use this Mac.
I can help you with that too.
All right. All I got to do is go to web pages, but I'm good at Windows keyboard shortcuts, so I'm always just pressing random things on a Mac. Yeah, I'm like, eh. Okay. This is sort of an experiment. I've been running often the study hall that we have. And the idea of the study hall at devICT is just that you come and you bring your own stuff you're working on and you work on it there, or here actually, because maybe it's just hard to get done at home. So it's kind of that one night a week when you actually go and study. But a lot of people show up and they're like, I want to learn to code. What do I do? And as long as I've been with devICT, we haven't had a good answer for that. And the reason is because there isn't one. But I want to just maybe real quick say, if you want to learn to code, what do you do? One, set aside time. I say if you're going to learn to code, probably 2 hours a day. I mean, it's a lot of work. You got to learn it, right? So just figure out, hey, I'm just going to do this. And maybe do it all on a Saturday. Figure out, what language should I learn? It doesn't matter, really. The first thing is, do I have a friend who's passionate about a language? If so, just learn what he's doing. You know, if you know Jacob, learn Go. It's a great one. And just, you know, seriously, because they'll help you. You know, if your friend's into Java, learn Java. Because all the languages are similar, more similar than they are dissimilar. And once you learn one language, the next one's going to be easier. But mostly you need support. And part of that's going to come from somebody next to you going, hey, this is fun. This is cool. This is great. Keep doing this. Next, just go online. And there's a few places. Udemy.com. I'm not trying to promote them, and they do charge money for their classes. The secret is this whole sale thing for $10. They're always $10. If they're ever not $10, just wait 3 minutes. I mean, maybe it's a day. So no, just it's important though, because you might go out and spend $200 and no, just wait. It will be back to $10. Go on here. What do you want to learn? You want to learn Go. Now, if you want to learn Go, actually ask Jacob, seriously. But you know, say you don't know Jacob or you don't want to, just look on here. Buy a course. Books are fine too if you're into books. I just don't talk about that so much because I was into books in the late 90s and I didn't enjoy that. The video has been I've been learning more from videos. So, but you know, if you want to learn JavaScript, type in JavaScript. Look at the reviews. Get on Slack and say, what's a good JavaScript class? Just do it. Just literally just sit down and do it. It'll tell you on here when you look at the reviews, is this for beginners? Is this for, you know, is this for advanced? And if you know, a lot of these courses have, you know, like 60 hours worth of video lessons. That's a lot. If you finish that, then you're going to know a lot. So that's like my whole thing. Just get online. I suggest Udemy, but any place else, get a class and just do it. You ask a lot of questions about, well, what do I use for an editor? Most classes that start out will tell you. They'll give you something. Just use it. Try to ignore that. Try to ignore your editor. Try to ignore your what kind of computer you have. Try to ignore all that because it's not that important. It'll come later. Yeah, just say no. And okay, and now, so say you have a lot of money. I'm just going to plug this to. There is Udacity. The only reason I like Udacity, I did some stuff with them, is if you pay them money, they'll have somebody who you submit your projects to, and they look at your project, and then you have to finish it, or you don't finish the course. So you just have, it's just sort of like a college class where you get a grade, that's all. And that's really the only reason to go with something like Udacity, is if you just really want to get a career in coding, and then also they'll help you with your resume and stuff. That's the only reason I would maybe say that, if you have money. But you don't need to do that. I think that's my talk. Any questions about learning to code? No questions.
You got exactly 3 minutes left. Okay. I think we have time for just one more for tonight. And Huang?
Is it possible?
Maybe. What do you want to do? It's like terminal stuff.
Yeah,
Okay. Do you have? Let me see. What do you got?
If I want to show them like something, this is like a loader script. Should I show it? I volunteer for this OpenCAD.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm gonna go ahead and stop the video here. So if you're watching online, there's an amazing presentation you're about to miss. So come out next time we do talks. So let's see. Here and stop and bye.